Welcome everyone to episode 70 of Masters of the Forge. We got a full house tonight. I have Jason.
Hello, everyone.
I have Snorre.
No, you don't.
I have James the Stag.
He that feareth the witch has conceded defeat, even as his bolt gun stings still in his hand.
Mwahaha. Very nice. It's so nice to have everybody here again. We're going to have a super quick fire intro session, and then we're going to talk long and hard about book 5.
Hey, we're done with episode 69. You know that?
Right.
This discussion is going to get really deep.
Maybe your side of the conversation. I got the Filipino curse. Anyways, book 5 of Throneworld. Book 5 of Throneworld. So who wants to start us off on hobby progress?
Following after that.
James?
I guess I can go.
Snorre? All right.
Since last time I was here, that's kind of long time ago, I feel. I think I assembled some raptors since last time, because I don't think I talked about those. And I assembled 20 Chaos Marines that are going to be Night Lords, all of them. Mm-hmm. So put some color on them, but all like the glorious gold is still missing, and also the red and white for the skulls and the wings and such. And yes, I built them like old school Night Lords, so they are kind of the other bunny Chaos Marine.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
There's something.
The least aerodynamic
like,
helmets in 40K.
Yeah, probably. And most definitely not certified for flight.
Turn your head sideways to go faster.
Yeah. But there's something about that aesthetic that is, I guess maybe it's the nostalgia or something, but once I started assembling them and put the helmets on, to begin with, I was going to just cut the wings off and try to reposition them to more like the cliche Viking helmet thing, where they're like the huge wings, like, old Marvel Thor kind of thing. Mm. But as I looked at them, they're like, no, let's not. Let's just leave them.
Huge wings, do you mean actual authentic Viking helmets?
Because
they were like that?
If I ever come to Hawaii, pray I won't find you.
Do you know what a Zubat looks like? Do you know what, James?
I don't think you can make it here in a longboat.
James, do you know what a Zubat looks like? The Pokemon?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I miss the Pokemon craze.
Right, imagine cartoony bat wings that with purple fingers and red webbing.
Oh no!
It's amazing.
Like the crystal bats from the Dark Crystal. Yeah.
You know what? I still haven't seen Dark Crystal because I promised a friend I'd watch it with him for the first time, and it's been like 5 years since I made that promise.
Unless that friend passed away immediately after that promise, that's no excuse. God.
Anything else you up to, Snorre?
Well, reading Throneworld, of course.
Yeah,
actually rereading it because I already plowed through book 7, and I guess I just had to brush up a little bit on what happened in book 5 so I don't screw up.
No, that's a really good idea.
I think that's pretty much it.
Jason, what have you been up to this week? You've been working the work, right?
Yeah, like 20 minutes ago, I finished the last lecture of my online course, and so I have to write an exam, and I'm done with that thing.
That's cool.
So this evening, I am partaking in a couple of adult beverages.
Nice. That's what
It'll be lovely. It'll be fun. But outside the work stuff, I rebased a large number of Mark IV Marines from the Calth box. 15 tax, a sergeant, and an apothecary.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked good, dude.
I built them when I was still in upstate, but I needed new bases, and I didn't want to paint them until I had bases that I liked. Yeah. And so I'll probably prime them sometime this week, just depending on humidity. Still not sure whether they're going to be joining my Blood Ravens or if they'll be used as part of a Raven Guard Zone Mortalis list. I did just order the Prospero box, and the Marines in there I'm going to use either for the Blood Ravens or maybe another army, such as Death Guard since they're Mark III Marines.
So who's excited about that box? Sisters of Silence.
I already ordered mine.
It's like we don't even need to come up with rules for old factions anymore. We're just not in that business anymore.
Yeah.
No, we threatened to do that, and then GW shows up and does it for us.
That's right.
So squats.
Squats. So this is the squat song.
When you start complaining about the new factions compared to revamping old rules, you get into the like, oh, you'll bitch about anything territory, right? We want new armies. Here's new armies. We want better old armies. What are you doing?
I think my wallet just wants to quit screaming for just a couple of weeks. That's all it wants.
I'm not buying Prospero until all the 30K stuff I have is painted, which will be never. So,
well, oops.
Oh, it can be done.
Let's see what else. Okay, Star Eagle Captain. I started painting him, and I put down some base coats, but I haven't gotten too far along on him because I wasn't sure what color to paint his cape. A lot of the captains in the Death Watch book have like either bone capes or red capes, but I didn't know if I wanted to do that or if I wanted to go with the chapter colors, like green or purple. So I'm still figuring that out. And let's see. The last thing is I painted on the Dune Crawler base, and the scheme's pretty easy to execute, but because I have so many washes on it, it takes forever because it has to dry. So. And that's my hobby progress for this week.
Excellent. Generally, I did the capes like the outside purple and the inside red.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's what you want to do or if that'll like clash with the other Death Watchy stuff.
Oh, I don't care. I mean, they're all peacocks, man. They all have the black armor, but they have to, be the exemplars of their chapter. So, if I have a Dark Angels guy, he's going to be as Dark Angels as possible, which means that he'll also probably stab the Space Wolf, but whatever.
James, I've seen you posting some things on the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page recently. What are you up to?
Not too hobby related. I've been terrible. Like there's a First Curse Gene Stealer cult formation that's been sitting on my table waiting to be painted. I've been just building furniture for my wife for the last couple weeks.
Really?
So, I haven't done much hobby.
Thought I saw you posting something. So didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Went to RTT next weekend here on Hawaii Island.
Oh,
so
cool. Where's that?
In Hilo.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of the game store?
There's actually no store over there. It's just a group out of the University of Hawaii Hilo campus that's going to be running a tournament.
That sounds like fun.
If anybody's in Hilo next weekend, which I don't think this episode will even have dropped by then.
Yeah, no, it won't actually. But it's good to know that you have some fun game groups in your area that people can check out.
Stuff's slowly picking up here.
Yeah, all right. Well, I have been busy as usual. Besides reading Throneworld, I did take some time to sit down and, was watching some TV with Wendy and starting to assemble my Seraphon. And it's going pretty good. I decided I wanted to do the big giant robots first because they're the most kind of exciting to me right now. And I'm definitely going with the old ones in exile theme. So both of the Bastillodons and the the one that looks like a Triceratops, they use Eldar bits and
the Stegodon.
Stegodon. They use Eldar bits and Necron bits to kind of give them a more science fiction-y feel than a fantasy feel. And
that's the bright lance you have on the Bastillodon. That looks sick.
Thanks. Yeah, that's for like when he has the
Eye of the Gods or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Whatever. Basically, I have dinosaurs with giant freaking lasers on their backs, which that's what I like to have. I assembled some skinks last night while we were playing Shadowrun because that game is very focused one-on-one a lot of the time, so I had a lot of just downtime to do that. And I built like 34 of those little guys out of one box plus the extras that I got from the big dinosaur kits because they come with a bunch of skinks that you can have climbing all over the backs. So I kind of cut down on those on the models so that I could have 3 full squads of skinks.
Yeah, the Stegodon and the Bastillodon were kind of like the Arachnarok spider from the orcs. Like you could build it as either like a weapon platform or as a platform with like a priest and everything. So they have all those extra bits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the one I actually was able to make myself a skink star priest out of one of the models and a leader. So that was very good. That model ended up being very thrifty for me to get a bunch of extra stuff out of it. So the skinks, I did glue like the blowguns to their arm sockets, but I think what I'm going to do is, I'm definitely doing this because I'm going to chop off their hands, and I've already ordered about $17 worth of splinter pistols from eBay.
Woohoo!
And they're going to have splinter pistols instead of blowguns. So that'll be cool.
The old ones theme is really cool. Did you follow the Fantasy End Times series?
No, I didn't. But I heard about it. I heard about how like that was very solidified even more. And there's even a picture of the Seraphon starship in the Seraphon book, and it is really cool.
There was one scene where a bunch of Skaven were like messing around in one of their temples, and they accidentally activated a communication device, and they heard like someone speaking what they thought was Elf through the other side. Like they basically got a hold of the Eldar.
That is fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. The LATCS episode I was in was released, as well as the Veterans of the Long War episode. The LATCS episode is pretty funny if you guys want to listen to it. It's pretty good. Don't listen to it with your kids around.
Nope, wasn't gonna do it.
Like all episodes of Life After the Cover Save,
It's
it's
kind of a good
not
point,
safe for work, not safe for anyone, really.
Yeah. Went to
I
a
work at home, so it's safe for me.
Yeah.
Yay!
Right. I went to a Combat Patrol tournament with my Sisters of Battle Combat Patrol list yesterday, actually. This was at Zombie Planet in Albany, New York. I haven't been there for a tournament ever. I think I've played 40K there once, just because they play on Saturdays, and I just can't. I can't do 2 days, especially a Saturday. But I was able to get up there this weekend, and I had a nice time. Got best painted. I still don't know how much money's on that gift card. I'll have to go back soon and find out. So I was really pleased with that. Met a bunch of really cool guys. Thanks to them for their hospitality. I'm kind of what I've been kind of doing with my gaming has been getting ready for a tournament in Manchester, Connecticut at the Portal. Portal's a really cool location with lots of terrain. I mean, anybody looking for a hobby home, that's a really great place to go. It's over on Hillard Street in Manchester, Connecticut. The tournament is November 5th and 6th, and Wendy's actually going with me. And she's gonna hang out with me, and she loves hotel rooms and stuff, so she's gonna chill there, and we're going to see how I can do with my orcs. I've been testing a list with 5 units of 3 orc bikes with a power claw, then 3 units with a big choppa, and then like 1 9-man unit. And I'm using Zad Snark Darippa for my warlord to make all those bikes troops. And cool. Yeah, he's the one with like the initiative 4 power claw, which is amazing.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember him.
What are your thoughts on the big choppa? Why are you going with that?
Just to save points. Some units, some of those bike units are just going to get sacrificed for scoring, for progressive scoring. So I'll just throw an objective secured unit of bikes up next to an objective and be like, doesn't matter how big your model, your unit is here over here, because I have objective secured. So they're very much throwaway units, put forward units. And I have the Pain Boy with them so that I run it on 2 CADs. I've just been trying to kind of finagle in what to do with the other 800 or so points.
Stompa.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess. It's not
If the
worst
variable
idea.
is more than like 700 points or whatever it is, the answer is Stampa.
I guess that's true.
It's a simple
Yeah.
if-then equation.
That's a good point.
Much more
Yeah.
fun than Luna's.
Yeah, and what I have been this past weekend I tried 4 Daka Jets, and that was interesting. That's just, it's as annoying as I remember trying to maneuver those things all around, and ugh.
Yeah.
I played against Mike though, so that was a fun game. He's a great guy. I like playing against Mike. Then before that, I tried. What did I try? I've been trying a bunch of stuff, but the one that's worked the best is I take the formation of Corn Demonkin, the murder pack, I think it is, the one with all the flesh hounds and a couple chaos bike units. So it's just like bikes and flesh hounds, and they just run up the field and they're like, rah, we're bikes and flesh hounds. So I think that's the version I'm going to take the tournament. So
Speaking of tournaments, the reason why I built my Chaos Marines were actually to attend a tournament, but me being a completely stupid person who forgets dates and gets things mixed up, I actually managed to sign up for a tournament on my nephew's birthday. So I was like, whoops.
Ruh-roh.
yeah.
So yeah, I was going to attend a tournament, but not anymore.
Tournaments are great for meeting new people and testing yourself and showing off your models too.
Yeah, this for me, this was also about. It was a friendly tournament, so it's like more casual friendly, not super hardcore lists, and it was also a Highlander tournament. So it would have been my first Highlander exposure.
Remember we were talking about it earlier. So yeah, other than that, as far as gaming is concerned, I think I'm trying to start to pull together ideas for our first narrative game for the Masters of the Forge Altar of War series. I'm still not 100% sure what we're going to do for that or who I'm going to play against, but I definitely want to sneak it in before the Golden Sprue Cup GT starts to really take off and we start building terrain and stuff for that, because at that point I won't have time for anything else. So I'm going to try to talk to John, see if I can't convince him to do it with me, or maybe Mike might actually do it too. So we'll see. So I guess that's it for everybody. Again, this is a Beast Arises episode. So if you haven't read Book 5, Throneworld, which has a picture of Eldrad on the front for kind of no reason, because elves are in it for like 5 seconds, but whatever.
Yeah, that kind of felt like we got the old bait and switch on this one.
Yeah, but guys, actually, before we go into the actual discussion of the book, I've actually been kind of trolling the internet a little bit, and some people are kind of not happy with this book or with this series. Like, there are people who love it, but I've noticed there are a few people that they just don't like it. And they seem to be comparing it to Horus Heresy. Horus Heresy must be really good because...
Yeah. Horus Heresy is a lot better. I mean, I like this series, but the Horus Heresy series is much better.
Right.
Yeah, but even the Horus Heresy, though, it's book to book. I mean, you'll find no end of hatred for like Battle for the Abyss, and there are a bunch of people that don't like Flight of the Eisenstein. It's the same thing. Like, the books in this series are amazing. There's the good books in this series are amazing. It's the same thing with the Horus Heresy.
Okay.
I don't know. Like,
I'm kind of getting the impression that like a lot of people just, I don't know. For me, I love the exposition of how things have evolved over time, and and this book particularly has kind of exposed a lot of the reason for the series existing. It's like it's not just this war against the orcs and then maybe other factions later. It's showing you the Imperium. It's like it's almost a Lord of the Rings. I mean, clearly not at that. I'm not saying it's the Lord of the Rings, but it's kind of showing us the Imperium at that time. It's kind of setting up that period, right?
Yeah, it's really nice
how
that
things are happening.
it's really nice that it bridges the gap between 30 and 40K. I mean, that
Yeah.
like just in that, there's a lot of value in the
Right.
series, I think.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it, so I don't know. They can stick their head in the mud.
Yeah, I mean, there were people, like complaining from day one that the books weren't as long as they thought, or it's like you find anything to complain about.
These books are actually fairly reasonably priced for.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just wanted to touch on that before we moved on. So thanks a lot. We'll see you after the messages.
Hey everybody, check out Veterans of the Long War, a Warhammer 40K podcast on iTunes and on Facebook. We are a 40K podcast based out of Western Massachusetts with contributors from other parts of New England. We talk hobby, tactics, news, and rumors, check out new releases, and talk about our local and regional 40K scene. We're looking for new contributors, so get in touch if you want to be a part. Check us out on iTunes and Facebook. That's Veterans of the Long War, a Warhammer 40K podcast.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Well, don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Hey, Masters of the Forge listeners, are you looking to expand your Warhammer 40,000 gaming group?
Do you want to start a 40K club in your area?
Do you want the people you attract to be like-minded mofos?
Do you want to advertise your YouTube channel?
Or even attract more subscribers to your hobby blog or online community?
Then what better way than to advertise on the Masters of the Forge podcast?
All we ask of you is that you email us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com or message us on Facebook with a full text of your advertisement, including the region in which you live and any contact information people can use to get a hold of you.
We will have one of our many tech servitors read your advertisement on the air. We promise not to make fun of you.
Though we can't always predict the actions of our servitors, you really can't find good help these days.
No, you can't.
3, 2, 1. Hooray,
So-
we're back. Sorry. Did you have any plans, Adam?
No, it's all good. Hold on.
Snorri's got places to be.
Let's see. It's 30 minutes past midnight. No girlfriend. No.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
figured it's a 12-hour difference between here and Norway.
So I think the theme of this book particularly is faith and how it pertains to the Imperium, or at least that's one of the main themes that the author was trying to touch on. The author being Guy Haley.
Both the good and the bad aspects of it.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think as we discuss it, we should try to keep that in mind. See how it kind of starts tying into everything. And if you guys think of any other interesting themes that we can glean from the text, let me know. So let's start off with talking about the events on Terra, because more than any other of the books, I think. The events are very isolated by area. The last book 4, events were pretty isolated in comparison to books 1 through 3. And it gets even more isolated in this book. Very little that happens in one region affects another. So, and there isn't very much in the way of congruous cause and effect in regards to the different stories being told simultaneously. And
Yeah, I would say that you pretty much expect that to happen, because towards the halfway point, it should sort of branch out to different things to just give you a large playing field of stories. And then as we get closer to the ending, it's going to merge again.
I was actually very surprised at how linear we were in the beginning of the book, where we were went straight from like Eldrad to Lahariel to Vangarich to the Last Wall's Assault. And the Last Wall's Assault is not broken up at all. Guy gives that to us in one big like fist, and we're able to watch that unfold without being interrupted. And I think that was a good idea. I'd like to get into detail about. I think one of the more interesting parts of the book was when the Eldar troop penetrates the closed webway portal in the Imperial Palace. That was really cool to see, like what Eldrad will do to get to save the Eldar race. Right, 20 Waysingers die trying to pry this thing open. I thought that was really interesting. And he gives their leader Lahariel a tooth on a chain, 15 like given to him 1,500 years ago by who was it?
Vulcan
Hassan. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
One of the great parts about this too is depending on how far you are into the Horus Heresy, you may not have actually known that there was a webway portal in right near the Golden Throne. Yeah. Not being too far along in the heresy myself, the first time I read this, I was like, "Oh, what?"
So you guys think it's the very same one that is talked about in the War in the Webway kind of portion of the Horus Heresy?
Spoilers.
I think it's pretty well known.
It's been like 10 years.
Right. And they run in there and it describes them as jumping around, like passing over the dust without disturbing it. And Lahariel feels this oppression being on Earth. I thought that was a really cool, like, lens into the psyche of an Eldar. She could feel, she could almost feel the memory of the Earth's former glory before mankind ruined it.
It even mentioned that like she was picking up psychic resonance from the dead skin cells that made up the dust in the hallways.
Right. These Eldar are very sensitive to psychic impressions.
Commented on how being so close to the Emperor was almost unbearable, like to the point of being painful, just from the psychic power. Yeah,
she was very angry at the humans for destroying the world, and she did feel the kind of that's kind of a the Eldar did destroy themselves, but it was a the effect of being awesome. Like, we were so awesome, we killed ourselves. And there's some kind of glory in that. But like the quote is, I love this quote: "Mankind was a moron chopping away at the branch of the tree they were standing upon." What a great analogy.
That, of course, doesn't describe our current civilization at all.
No, that's not
totally irrelevant.
So they fan out, and the Lucifer Blacks, are basically schooled by this troop. But the numbers tend to overwhelm, and it's just Lahariel at the end. Even after killing a whole bunch of these custodes that everybody's telling me are awesome.
Yeah, actually, getting to that point is one of the more interesting chapters in the book, if you ask me. When Vangarich and Beast Cruel, they're trying to find probably as any Eldar, but hopefully like one of the more important ones. And they see that there's some Lucifer Blacks that are fighting one single Harlequin, and it's like, Beast is told that you have to watch yourself because this one is special. This Eldar is not to be trifled with. Which is like, yeah, right. You don't really need to tell me this.
I'm Beast Cruel, the hero of the series.
Yeah, exactly. And they just stand there and watch these Lucifer Blacks get chopped down, and then Beast Cruel goes to work. And it's pretty much a one-on-one fight for a whole chapter where Beast Cruel fights this one Harlequin. And, Beast Cruel comes out victorious, but just barely. And I think it's a pretty nicely written one-on-one fight situation there.
That was a cool fight.
So a single Harlequin kills an entire platoon of Imperial Guard and basically beats an Imperial assassin, which is exactly how it would play out on the tabletop. your results may vary.
Your results may vary. Yeah, and Vangrich had to bail him out basically.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I love the how he engaged his implants, and he said he could have dodged the rain. He could have dodged raindrops, and the Harlequin was still faster than him.
Yeah. And the whole reason why they had this fight was Vangrich wanted this Eldar alive, but unfortunately, in the end, the only way to save Beast Cruel was to kill the Eldar.
Yeah, and he definitely values Cruel more than so I love the conversation. Obviously, they capture this Eldar. Oh, in the room leading right up to the Golden Throne, which just happens to have 2 Warhound Titans in it, which is, I guess, a thing we do now. We put
Why not?
Warhound Titans in our house.
Those
no wonder
rooms
it has
are
to be so big.
large.
Their
Jesus.
housebroken. Come on.
So the Eldar can actually sense their presence through all their psychic protection in the room, which is just great. And
could you imagine getting that shit job? Like, you're gonna pilot the Warhound that guards the gate to the Emperor's throne room. Hope you're good at staying awake.
right. Especially Warhound Titans, aren't they known for being very jumpy?
Not very good at sitting still.
Yeah. No. Wow, that must be torture. He said about just about everything in the world. Yeah. So she gets captured, and she basically warns them not to let the orc threat distract them from the actual threat. She
Before we talk about that, one thing I'd like to talk about is during her fight scenes, how she kept saying, "Put down your weapons. I bring you peace," as she's tearing heads off.
Peace. We come in peace. Shoot to kill. Shoot to kill. We come in peace. Shoot to kill.
Yeah. Isn't that out of like an old B movie, science fiction, be like Scanners or something like that? Isn't that like the exact premise of the alien there?
I'm pretty sure that's sort of what they do in Mars Attacks.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the other one. Yeah, so
they're so advanced, they must be peaceful.
We bring you peace.
Lahariel really she's there to warn them, like, hey, don't let this orc threat. You're gonna get past this orc threat. Don't worry about it, but don't take your eye off of the great enemy, because chaos has designs.
Like, after she gives that little speech, like, I can just picture the smirk on Veritas's face as he looks at Vienand.
But this also, all of this is happening in an interrogation chamber in the Inquisitorial Fortress. So a little bit of time has passed since she was in front of the Emperor. But Veritas points out that while Vangrich points out that while Veritas and Vienand are fighting between each other over who has the biggest right to kill each other, because one is the heretical Xenos Inquisitor, and the other one, well, he tried to assassinate Veritas because, well, it's faster than trying to convince her that he's right. So they're having a bit of a conversation there, and Vangrich goes, "Hey, is this thing, this cell, is it psychically warded?" And they goes, "Of course. It's the Inquisition." Well,
and they look up and she's staring at him.
Yeah, it's like, she's looking at you guys,
smiling,
like directly at you guys. Whatever psychic warding wasn't enough. It wasn't Eldar proof.
So good. That was a really good part. And she explains, the threat, the orc invasion threat is pretty much a distraction in comparison to the war that's been going on for millions of years. Like, Horus's war was just the latest act in that war. And she says that humanity is absolutely their tool. Like, they're like, "Oh, we're just a tool to them." And she's like, "Well, yeah, we are." You are just a tool to us. We ruled the stars when your world was ruled by reptiles. And she brags on about their conquests, including, and I quote, your own ancestors and their unliving legion. So I assume that's in reference to the robots, when the robots rose up.
Yeah. Could you find that quote that I was talking about before we started recording, where they'll be kind of deciding the fate, or sorry, the Inquisition. The Inquisitors are trying to like fight between themselves over how to deal with this, and Vangridge has to remind them of something.
No, I don't know if this is the right one. Where he says, "Don't draw that. Listen to yourselves. Ordinarily, I would have no qualms if the two of you wished to pit the Inquisition against itself. Your agency has interrupted legitimate operations of mine so many times I have lost my patience with it. A reorganization would do it and me a world of good." "We impose the will of the Emperor, Draken," said Venand. "Our word is law. And I exist to ensure that people who say such things as a matter of habit do not take matters into their own hands. Isn't it nice that we can all get on to so well together?" Vangridge said dryly. "We do not need to get on with each other. Frankly, you two and I are the only ones who seem to be keeping their head in all of this mess. Can you not put your differences aside? The future of the Imperium depends on it. Is it really that inconceivable that you both might be right, that Veritas here is correct to be wary of the alien?" Veritas began to speak, but Vangridge raised his voice and spoke over him. "And that Venand is right in the utility of the Xenos? Neither of these viewpoints are essentially contradictory."
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
Such a stone cold badass.
He is
Every
great.
assassin in this series, it's just so good.
Yeah, they're really, really good, and I'm just loving Vangridge right now, and he's been pretty good for the past couple of books, and however, it pains me that at the end of that section, they casually close the door and walk away, and the text says locking her away forever.
Yeah.
Literally forever.
Thank you for delivering your plot device. Now go away.
Right? That's brutal. So now we move on to the Last Wall's assault on the Orc attack moon. I don't think there needs to be a lot of yada yada about this. I mean, it was a pretty cool battle. There's a few things in here that I think are noteworthy. The first chapter of the book, first of all, I want to say, do you guys get the impression that someone else wrote the first chapter after the book was written?
That's a possibility. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that.
Me neither.
Like we found out in the interview, they were written over such a long period of time that Guy Haley may have just gone back and added the first chapter.
Yeah, I mean, well,
like
I think
after
they,
it was written or whatever.
At the end of book 4, we're under the impression that the Last Wall is not going to assault Terra. And they know that Terra has the Orc moon there. They know that the Proletarian Crusade was a failure. And there's a whole much to do about convincing Corlin not to assault Terra. And then this chapter kind of tries to steer the story away from that.
And maybe Guy Haley just unilaterally decided that Corlin needed to be more of a badass and put his foot down in regards to Bohemond.
Right. Yeah, and Bohemond was the one who wanted to attack Terra, but in this chapter, it's insinuated that Bohemond would be the one they would have to deal with if they decided to go to Terra, when Bohemond should be the one who wants to go to, like, I'm just a little bit confused about how the story turned like that. And I think maybe it was too late to change the text in a more delicate or in more delicate fashion. So enough about that. Like, we have so many great things to say about the series. I think that's the first real quibble I've had with the series so far. So Vengerich and Veritas communicate with Corlund as the last wall approaches, and they start talking about the weird behavior of the Mechanicus. Corlund is pissed. He notices that Mechanicus hasn't lifted a finger, and no one is talking to him. No one is responding to him. And I love, like, as we go through this, like, one of the important things to learn here is that the High Lords are still terrified of the Adeptus Astartes. They are they are very, very much feel threatened by 3,000 to 4,000 Space Marines showing up in the Terran system.
It is sort of understandable because to a certain degree, they know they are corrupt. They don't really care anymore because it's sort of become the standard way of doing things. And 4,000 Space Marines just suddenly showing up in space right off your planet, that's that is a vengeance fleet if you want to. I was like, these guys can really come and clean up if they need to. So I would feel threatened too if I was on the take.
Now, our man on point, Vengerich, actually points out to Corlund, like, you got to know that the High Lords aren't going to see you as friends at this point. You're just going to be a threat, just like everything else. So I liked how that's kind of set up Corlund's ability to trust Vengerich, which we come across again later. But just that little message, like, just so you know, these dysfunctional, guys, they're not going to be happy with this.
But you know who you can trust.
This guy right here.
Your old buddy Vengerich, yeah.
Points to digital lasers at himself. Yeah, right here. Has 2 digital lasers, and you can trust this guy.
Corlund is able to convince / shame Fabricator General Kubik into assisting. Kubik has had a bunch of Skitarii and Legio Cybernetica, aka robots, on an ARC cruiser and some other vessels already mustered and ready to go. So
the only reason why they didn't send them was apparently that, well, we calculated the losses to be too great if we were to send them with the Proletarian Crusade and, yada yada.
But now that you're here,
red tape. Yeah, exactly. Now that you're here, we actually have fighting chance to lose just a little bit instead of losing just about everything.
It almost seems convincing, doesn't it? It really does.
We already knew those mountains were gonna move. Good game, LOL.
Right.
Sort of convincing, but at the same time, you totally see that the guy is just making excuses to cover for his own failure to act.
But he does manage to get them to agree that Kubik gets first access to any technology they find to quote better fight them end quote.
These parts
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So as we see later in the book, better ways to fight the orcs. Well, there's experimentation going on, but whether it's for fighting the orcs or just to further Mars, we don't really know.
Maybe a little bit of both.
These parts of these books really help remind you that the Imperium is not this just like homogenous, perfectly functioning thing. Like, I mean, Kubik actually in one of the later chapters pretty much hints that they're ready for Mars to go their own way. Like if Mars and the Imperium part ways, it's not necessarily a bad thing, kind of thing. Like they're not all on the same page.
I got 99 problems and a master state ain't one. And I love how like in this part of the book first of all, Corlund name drops Urquidex and Laurentis, and I don't know why. I'm wondering if there was a conversation with Vengerich about that, or if Corlund came up with some kind of, I don't know why he's name dropping those 2 guys, because he's messing them up real bad by doing
Yeah, it was real awkward. It's like, can I talk to these two? He's like, and Kubik's like, they're busy. Like, oh, okay, thanks. Like,
Yeah, it's like
right.
calling somebody's boyfriend. Like, hey, can I talk to Mary? Mary's busy. Like, okay, I just wanted to talk to her.
There is one alternative to why he might be wanting to talk to them, because he knows the Fabricator General is going to call them in and have the Fabricator General interrogate them to a certain degree. It's like, well, what do you know about this? This also gives them a view into what the Fabricator General is thinking and doing, so that they can talk to Corlin later about it.
Okay.
So it might be sort of a what would be like what's that psychology thing called? The don't do this, so you do it.
Like reverse psychology.
Reverse something.
Yeah.
Right,
Reverse
and
psychology.
maybe he's showing, you know, how important they are to him, so maybe they'll be less likely to be deleted in that case. And then we find out that Kubik himself was a biologist, just like Laurentis and just like Urquidex, and they talk about the value of their sect believing in a biological and machine balance rather than more machine is better, because after all, the Omnissiah created the biological machine, right?
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, though, Kubik is such like a nasty character that, that it almost rings false at some point. It's like, you know, you start the new job and your boss is like, "Hey, we went to the same university. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna need you to work weekends for free." I don't know how much like that really matters at this point with Kubik.
I do like the quote though. He says, "Logic is a tool, not an end unto itself. The end is knowledge." I thought that was really cool, and I guess he is manipulating the reader as well. But right after that, he sits them down and shows them one of the assassins being killed. And Urquidex is like trying real hard not to show signs of distress, because he knows Kubik and his choir are really good at reading facial and like behavioral tics.
Yeah, he picks up a little like eye tick.
Yeah, he don't tick. Yeah, because Kubik and his choir were able to figure out that Corland was in cahoots with Vangrich and Veritas because of the way he was acting and the things he was saying.
Yeah, through dialogue analysis, we calculate a 90% chance that Kubik has been in contact with, and they actually name drop Vangerich specifically. They know he's actually been talking to Vangerich,
right?
Just because of like what was being mentioned and how it was being presented and everything.
Yeah.
So that puts these Martians at a pretty scary level of intelligence.
Right. You know, you'd think that they wouldn't be good at biological matters like that or social things, but they are.
Can we just think about how awesome the description of the Diagnostiad is? It's just like, oh, we need more processing power. They like just shuffle in 20 more tech priests and plug them into the big like brain computer. It's like, you can't have AI, so we just need to keep hooking up more brains.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's like a supercomputer. It's great.
The room was big as like a huge sphere
like
that
a
was cut into
wide,
cut into the rock in the mountain, and the walls are just tiny little cubicles where they stuff tech priests in and plug them in. They cease to be an individual and become part of one giant machine.
And they love it.
They don't even notice them for a while after they've died.
Yeah,
like
by
the time they come to remove them, they're just like bones and robes.
So the walls are stained by their bodies.
Yeah.
So gross.
So when you're plugged in for life.
Yes, you
and
are.
Apparently it's one of the highest honors you can have to be part of this. It's like, that is just messed up.
What happens when you can't have AI anymore?
Yeah.
So I think that Kubik did this as a warning and as kind of as sending a message to Urquidex mainly, but also Laurentis. I think he splits them up, sends them off to work on two different projects, shows them, you know, his ability to root out dissenters or people who are trying to cause problems. And he's expecting them to fulfill their duties like good little Martians. I don't know if you guys agree with that, because I did kind of surmise that, but
Yeah, the timing and presentation was just to like, oh, and while I have both of you here that have been talking to Corlin, let's take a look at the video feed, shall we?
Oh, I hate to languish on about this because there's so much to talk about with these little tiny details, but how Laurentis spoke of Corland. He's my friend. Like I felt like he genuinely cared about my well-being when he saved my life, and Kubrick kind of dismissed it like, oh, they're built for that. They're built to care. He's like, I genuinely feel like he truly cared, and I thought that was really a cool moment where we can kind of get some exposition on Space Marine, space, how Space Marines act in their psychology, but also Kubrick's inability to look beyond kind of what he knows to be true.
The robotic way that Laurentis describes it, he's like, logic dictates that you asking me this, you want me to say something negative, but I can't.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah, that was really cool. So, yes, awesome space battle, gravity lash, kapow. They're getting messed up, but the Iron Knights show up out of nowhere. Apparently, they forgot how to turn on their communicators to tell them they were on their way, but whatever.
Oh my god, the Iron Knights, the most anticlimactic hero entrance ever.
Yeah, I don't know what if it takes days to get from the Mandible Point to Terra, then someone should have said something.
But I don't think it takes quite that long, but yeah. Suddenly they show up from the dark side of the earth or something, and bam, orcs are in a really tight spot, and suddenly, hooray, victory.
Yeah, maybe radio silence was on purpose for the surprise. I don't know. Anyways, they totally cleanse the surface of the planet, and Bohemond is so impressed that he not just with his ability, not just with I keep forgetting his name. Slaughter. I'll just call him Slaughter. Slaughter's like ability in battle and his decision making, but when he says when Bohemond suggests that the Slaughter should stay on the ship and protect the last living gene seed of the Imperial Fists, he chooses to personally lead a squad into the moon. Bohemond is so impressed with this that he gives Slaughter a suit of Terminator armor called the Fidus Bellator, I think it is.
Yeah.
Crafted at the end of the Heresy.
And I love that little extra fluff bit that he points out that the armor won't be upset because it's worn Imperial Fist colors before. Like that's that just awesome little bit of like 40K, Warhammer tech where my gun's gonna get angry at me if I don't perform the proper rites. Like I love that in this world, in this universe.
That is so cool. So they teleport in. Strike Team Slaughter whoops butt all over the place. Unfortunately, they also gunned down a bunch of prisoners. But that's where our old buddy Haas is.
Those Black Templars, what a bunch of party just buzzkills, man. Jesus.
Right? Yeah. Haas has been enslaved by the orcs. She was captured. And she's been working at this gate where the orcs have been bringing in material and more orcs and all that stuff. Kind of exposing the secret of how no matter where the moons show up, there seems to be an endless amount of force to pacify any threat.
And there's another like little good tidbit when she's going through the moon before she actually gets captured. She gets like kind of ambushed by these Gretchen and fights off these Gretchen. But he goes to the length to point out that she had no idea what the hell they were. Like, so sometimes you forget that playing 40K that average citizen doesn't know that there's Gretchen. And there's
she hasn't read the Codex.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, what the hell is that? Like, that's one of those really cool little bits that helps
bring you into the story more than just focusing on the game.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So the Black Templars kill them because they're not normal humans. There's this abhuman called Longshanks, which I assume are for they do low gravity work. They've been genetically engineered to work in low gravity. So they have long.
They probably haven't even been genetically altered, because in a low gravity environment you won't have gravity pulling you down as you grow. So they will just naturally grow longer.
They will, but they actually saw them as genetically altered. So whatever.
Genetically different.
They're considered abhumans.
Yeah, they were accepted. Like, and they even like point that out to her too. It's like I imagine that like is the dude that doesn't speak English really well, and he starts getting so the guy pulls out his American passport. Like they had that prepared.
Right.
It was like no, we're an accepted form of abhuman, and then it's like okay until the Black Templar shows up.
Yeah. So what happens when Black Templars show up and there's Oghren fighting with Imperial Guard? They shoot those guys too.
No, because they are wearing the uniform. These guys
they're actually intimidating as opposed to these guys.
I don't know. It's just I hate the freaking Black Templar. Anyways, yeah. Haast briefs herself to Corlin, tells him about the teleporter and everything like that. And Corlin orders the Black Templars not to be shooting innocent humans.
No more shenanigans.
Yeah, stop that. Stop. Just cut it out.
Stop it.
It's not their fault the Dark Age of technology decided, you know what, this is a lot easier than actually putting proper gravity on these ships. Corlin throughout the fight proves himself a very measured and attentive leader. He agrees with some plans, but also reins in Beaumont when he has to. I thought that was really cool. They come up with a plan for attack. I think it's Beaumont's plan to kind of collapse a whole bunch of the passages and push with the bulk of their force right up Main Street, and then kind of quote unquote sneak in with Terminator armor from another direction, so that most of the orcs are distracted by the fighting, which Beaumont says he's the orc expert after all. And he's like, yeah, they won't be able to resist, thousands of space marines moving up Main Street with a bunch of war machines. The battle that ensues is pretty great. They have the teleporter, and then the giant orc comes through the teleport. He's wielding an axe as big as the side panel of a rhino. Malfron succeeds on his lookout sir roll and dies.
This is what I meant when I said anticlimactic. It's like, okay, we've never had the Iron Knights in a story before. They show up, save the day. Like one chapter later, chapter master's dead. Sorry. Oh my god.
And they teleport as the room explodes. It was a fun fight.
That was actually one thing that I was going to do. As they plant melta charges on the power supply for the teleporter, they're just like waiting for the 30-second countdown for both the meltas to go off and them to get teleported out. And even the dead Space Marines in Terminator armor, it just describes it, and suddenly some weird ear in the suits and weird smells or something, and we're back on the battle cruiser again, and hey, there's a bunch of Terminator armor here containing dead people, because the machine spirit of the Terminator armor teleported back with the remains, because that's what Terminator armor does.
Yeah, it's gotta be brutal. Come back and you know exactly how many people died.
Yeah, well, the whole sort of, they present it as the Terminator armor knows that it needs to teleport the remains back so that it can receive like proper burial and such.
Yeah, and it knows it's very, very expensive and can't be built anymore.
That's the dream of like any military, right? Could you imagine like in a modern war or something, you have a bunch of soldiers killed and then their rifles and equipment just show back up at home base like score.
So yeah, that was a pretty cool battle. What I found more interesting was the politics after. The Lord Guliman Udin Macht Udo. This is just the best.
Is.
Oh, I know. He's like, yeah, okay, first of all, what are you doing here? Like, oh, thanks. Here's some medals. What are you doing here? Right? Like,
It's like the heavy-handed, like just chest puffing bravado nonsense.
Yep. Oh,
like,
by the way, we're filling up your chapter with a bunch of other guys from different chapters.
I'm gonna make it a point to explicitly call you second captain during our entire conversation.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the other Space Marines are calling you chapter master.
Even Beaumont's like, no, he's the chapter master of the Imperial Fist. He's a bad. Yeah, I don't care about that. That doesn't matter to me. Blah 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 blah. Oh, it is. You're meant to hate this guy, and it works. And we find out, Cubic wants the moon preserved, so they're not going to continue the fight against the moon, and the chapters are going to get split up because the High Lords are scared.
And not just split up, but at this point,
redeployed.
Yeah, but also the last wall is the Wall Brethren are being recreated, and one of the other Space Marines just point out, well, there's just one guy left. Yeah, well, the people, they just don't need to know that the entire Imperial Fists are gone, so we're just going to take people from different chapters and then just give them some yellow armor, and no one's going to be the wiser.
Yeah, and they're like, none of the brothers will agree to this, and he's like, yeah, they will. They better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty ugly, really, just how hard this guy pushes through that. Right. Well, we don't care where you're from because you're going to do our bidding. Hint, hint. So like we are the ones in charge.
Corlin doesn't just take it. He says, if and I think I quote here, if they'd been governing instead of politicking, his brothers would still be alive.
Oh yeah,
and the truth of that kind of hangs in the air, But they have to comply. They do this parade, 1,000 Space Marines marching down the road up to the Daylight Wall, which I find interesting. I think a little foreshadowing to the upcoming Horus Heresy battles. They go to the killing field before the Daylight Wall, and what Corlin reflects that what they had done that day was nothing in comparison to what happened here during the heresy. So I thought that was a cool little moment there. We might be coming back to this scene or this location in the heresy to come. And then
they mentioned something similar during the assault on the Orc Moon. It was like, look at how easy this was with 3,000 to 4,000 Space Marines. Could you imagine if we had 100,000? What this would be like? They keep calling back to the glory days during the Great Crusade.
Yeah, and that's just one chapter.
Yeah.
Well over 100,000 Space Marines in a legion. Can you
multiple legions fighting in the same combat zone would be just like, okay, this is done. Next.
So
just a quick edit point here. Was it Mesring, Ecclesiarch Mesring, who was holding this grandiose, pompous speech during this parade?
I don't remember this speech.
I thought it was around this point where Mesring was doing some kind of speech, and
later
Corlin was like, "Yeah, this is being broadcast all over the planet, so that this guy can glorify himself."
Yep, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, it was like the picked readers taking pictures of them all kneeling in front of Lord Guilliman.
Yep. Everything's kind of making sure the High Lords are getting their due, especially Udo. So they proceed to do the renewal of fealty to the Lords of Terra, just to make sure everybody knows who's in charge. This is like one of my favorite parts of the book, the feast and party.
Oh yeah.
They explain how Corlin is not enjoying his meal, partially because of his mood and partially because his glands are detecting every single element in great detail. So he can't really enjoy it. He's just like, yep, phenyl dexatol, sodium phosphate, 3 milligrams of
This didn't need rosemary, sage, thyme, and cumin. Come on now.
And
it doesn't really help that all the High Lords and all their retinues and all that, they're just there to make sure that they look good, and they're just forwarding promoting their politics. So everything's just a show, and the Space Marines, they see it for what it is, and they hate every moment of it. Even when Ecclesiarch Messering comes up to the Space Marines and gets basically dressed down by another chaplain that, well, you're a charlatan and a hypocrite, so go away, please. And Messering just like, yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. And then he turns around when he's ready for it because he doesn't want to lose face.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It really shows, it just illustrates firsthand how scared the High Lords are of the Space Marines, because a bunch, like you say, they come up and Ingratiate either dress down Corland about some wrong he must have done or something, or they try to impress themselves upon him to gain his favor, just in case he takes over.
It's the beginning of Corland's political education, because like you said, he mentions every single comment as a slight or a request, he says.
Yep. And he's like, no, I am a servant of the Emperor. I am a servant of the Emperor. That's his refrain. And he's getting super. And then here comes Vangrich. Old buddy Vangrich, your friend Vangrich, who you can trust. Don't you just hate all these guys? Aren't they just awful? I know they're awful. You know they're awful. They don't know they're awful. You know, it's like we're on the same side. The side of the Imperium. And someone probably
should take care of it too.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Vangrich does hint that maybe we should shake the box up a little bit and see what happens.
Yes, best hope you are successful. We are gardeners, we assassins. A snip here, a prune there. We are not intended for a wholesale remodeling of government.
Yeah. If that doesn't speak volumes. If that doesn't speak volumes of his feelings, I don't know.
Well, yeah, he basically says to Corland, if you don't fix this, we're going to kill some people. And straight up admits it.
Even when Vangrich goes up and starts talking to him, Corland's like, "You're the only person in this room that's dangerous."
Yeah,
he tenses up when he approaches him.
Yeah,
like you could tell just by the way he moves.
Yeah, he's like, "You are probably the most dangerous person in this room, and we are standing among some of the greatest captains in the Space Marines." I mean, like, up to this point, you almost see Vangrich as more of the administrative, like, commander of the assassins rather than, a really, really skilled assassin himself, because he has everybody do everything for him. But when Corland says that, there can be no doubt that Vangrich has earned his position.
Come on, Advent Calendar 2016 Codex Draken Vangrich PDF. Come on.
That would be awesome. Oh my god.
points, don't care, 1,000 points, whatever you got to do.
Whatever you need. Oh, that would be amazing. Having the Master of Assassins as a character that you can take.
1,850 point Beast Arise Detachment, Draken Vangrich, and Beast Cruel. 2 models, good to go.
1-up cover save. Oh, so good.
Does not get to roll saves against Harlequins.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, we see a little bit more of your buddy Messering there, Snorre. He starts like choking during one of his homilies.
Yeah, he's speaking to the people and barely manages to finish his sermon, and just starts running away and more or less collapses into his chair. Is rushed over to the ecclesiarchal palace and everything, and just to demonstrate that this is how the poison that he was slipped in one of the previous books works, and I guess to remind people that Vangrich pays attention and. That this guy is neither popular nor safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you notice that they said that his bedchambers have viewing rooms so people can watch him wake up in the morning?
No. Pay and watch.
Well, yeah. It's a tourist attraction.
It's like one of the. I picture one of those like surgical rooms
Yeah.
that they use for teaching. They
Like
have
a gallery.
It's like the room's enclosed, but it's got like the gallery around the edges. Yeah.
Oh my god, that is fantastic.
And one of the descriptions in there is that he's feeling so hot that he's trying to get out of his clothes, but he's wearing this really elaborate, embroidered with jewels and everything robe that previously during the feast was described as being armor thick. So this isn't like something small. And Mesrin gets so desperate, he actually rips it to pieces. So there's like jewels scattering all over the place. And of his servants, of course, go and scavenge up all the pieces to reassemble it at some point. But he gets so desperate, he rips his ceremonial robes into pieces to just get out of it, and he's delirious, he's hallucinating, and he's having a really bad time.
That's a delightful image, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So the last kind of Terra scene we have is Corlin speaking with Thane, and he's saying, I really don't want to break up the fleet right now, but I've heard talk that some of the captains are talking about reforming the Imperial Fists Legion. He's like, this can't happen. We're not doing that.
I mean, like, even you can easily identify with that, because even as a reader at this point, you're like, yeah, kick ass, go. Like,
but he has a really good point.
We're not in that situation, but we're falling into the trap too. Like,
yes, and it's like I was noticing throughout, like Guy was trying to show us how the different chapters don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And Corland, I believe, is correct that after 1,500 years, the legions have reached a point of no return. They're so different, and they have so many of their own beliefs, and so many. I mean, the Black Templars are an extreme example, but like they're so set in their new ways that it would be very, very hard to homogenize these chapters into legions again. It would actually be a disaster.
Yeah, just look at the Black Templars and Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
The Black Templars, they couldn't join with anyone at this point.
No, and if they,
which is actually interesting, because it feels a bit weird to say it's only been 1,500 years, but. Right. It's only been 1,500 years.
Yeah. Everything from, beliefs, like the Black Templars definitely believe in the deity of the Emperor, to just combat tactics. The Black Templars are a very foot-forward crusading army. The Imperial Fists they hold bastions. They're great at resisting sieges, So... I think Corland is very correct here. It would be, and it's a great thing for the regular, like 40K aficionado to see why things are the way they are, and that in practice it actually makes sense that this is what Guiman did and why it was a good idea. Kind of shows how things developed. So, Mars, there wasn't a whole lot on Mars, right? A lot of it was in discussions with Corland earlier and everything like that. But we do follow some of the assassins, Yendel, Vero, and the others. Vero gets killed, obviously. And Yendel knew there was some kind of other like delivery or other thing that...
resources were being diverted to Mars, and Vangarish wants to know why.
Right, yeah. And she decides, okay, our cover is going to get blown here soon. I'm just going to go for it. And she takes the long slug down and removes her disguise, destroys her data slate. I love the process of destroying the data slate. It was like a page long.
Stamping on the crystal and then dividing the powder into two and carrying some of it with her to throw away somewhere else.
Right, because she assumes there's got to be they have to have some way of reassembling the crystal and restoring the data. So
this is Mars.
Yeah.
And then the message that they get from Vangerich that's just like encoded in this little robot rat.
Yeah, that was so good.
That was great.
The rat was awesome because it came up to, as they were meeting, it comes up to them and she allows it to bite her, and it bites everybody else. And the rat basically does a DNA check and to make sure that it's the right people. And Vangerich says, yeah, everybody get ready for an assassination on Kubik because it might happen. Don't pull the trigger without my say-so, but get the Eversor into position.
Oh, yeah. He's like, you put Tybalt where he needs to be and then wait for the go.
Yeah. Oh, I loved how, Kubik was able to read the memory of, which was gross, by the way, that whole description of how they extract the information from the mind of the assassin was
especially
terrible.
like how like the dude that was extracting it was really getting into it. Like, this is my job and I love my job.
I love my job. And Kubik's like, this dude is creepy as hell. This guy is gross.
And
electrodes into the brain, and they were kind of scanning electrical signals from the brain and putting it into binary code into a computer that was analyzing it, making images of it, and then transmitting those to Kubik. And he was like, okay, so random blurt of images, and he just reshuffles it into a story.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was a really nice scene. And yes, disgusting.
Now, my favorite part of that scene, though, was the fact that when Kubik found out there was an Eversor on the planet, he got this shiver through his body. Like, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that could rouse like the little bit of humanity that's in him. Like, wait, what? Did they say, oh, wait. God, this better pay off. If he doesn't get released, I'm going to go to Nottingham and there's going to be some arson. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, and Zelnick 4. Zelnick 4. Cat and mouse between the Iron Warriors and the Black Templars.
That was a nice one.
It was pretty cool. For the Black Templars, we have somebody we met in the last book, Calcator. He's a warsmith. And the commander of the strike cruiser Obsidian Sky is Dreadnought Marshal Magneric, who is a pretty cool character. He's a little like single-minded. He is a dreadnought after all. He's like, must destroy the heretic, blah, blah, blah. But
and also he's being told fairly early on that the Tech Marine kind of said that you are 6 months overdue on your cryo
you need to take
restitution sleep thingy.
Overdue for your nap. You're getting cranky.
Exactly.
Here, have a Snickers.
Yeah.
You're not yourself when you're cranky.
and then it shows R2D2. Oh goodness, good times. So yeah, but Calcator takes his men to the planet Zelnick 4, which he remembers from the heresy. He knows there's a cache here of like ammo and stuff, and the place is lousy with freaking commandos.
Awesome.
Or commandos, yeah, with their HUD goggles and everything. How did they get down here?
It even points it out like it was stealth done in like the comically ridiculous way that the orcs do everything. Yeah. Like just these jagged patterns and the metal's painted black, so we're sneaky.
I think they probably stowed away on the cruiser. I would assume they have them in the cruiser somewhere. And I just thought that was really cute. I love orcs. And so Ralston, who is Magneric's second, he's saying we should heed the last wall, but Calcator is very much, more than anybody else in the story so far, diverged from the Imperial Fists. He is all in on the deification of the Emperor. And
you mean Magneric?
Who did I say?
I think you said Calcator.
Oh, sorry. Magneric. Yeah, Magneric is all in on the deification of the Emperor, and he wants to keep crusading on and killing Calcator. And it doesn't hurt that Calcator is like his nemesis at this point.
they
used to
knew
be
each
good
other
friends.
before the heresy. That much is obvious.
Yeah,
So-
they used to be they say they were like the ideal of how two differing Space Marine legions could get along. And now they're these great enemies.
I mean, even his whole thing is called Crusade Calcator. So like, you got one direction, and you go in that direction.
Yeah. So they show up and they shove orcs aside in order to deploy drop pods and everything and Thunderhawks into the planet. I think Calcator says something to the effect of only Magneric would use a lance bombardment to ground Thunderhawks. Because Magneric doesn't want to just kill Calcator with a laser bombardment. He wants to go down there and punch him in the face with his giant dreadnought claw. Nothing else will suit. I love that.
At this point, Calcator is actually being intelligent and says that, well, we can either kill each other and be killed by orcs, or we can cooperate and kill the orcs, and then, we can have that fight later.
It doesn't hurt that Calcator had like 3 las cannons training on Magneric at the time. So.
Yeah. And, Magneric he has to admit that, well, as much as I hate the plan, it is actually the most logical and tactically viable plan.
Yeah,
so
is.
we'll have to do that.
I think
I don't know. He should have math hammered it out. It's like only 2 of those are gonna hit, and only one of those are gonna wound me. I'm fine.
I mean, if he rolls a 6, I'll explode.
Nobody's scared of havocs. Come on, now.
He doesn't like. He thinks the Chaos Gods are letting him roll 6s.
Lots of orc killing, and they're about to take off from the planet. I think this is one of the best dialogues also in the book, where Calcator is confronting Magneric and is like, okay, so I'm the heretic here, I'm the renegade, and you are worshipping the Emperor as the god against the imperial truth that we have been taught. So who's the biggest hypocrite here?
Oh yeah, everybody's a hypocrite in this freaking book. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
except Vanguard.
That dialogue between Magneric and Calcator when they argue about, one is actually worshipping the Emperor as a god, and the other one is a heretic because he doesn't want to acknowledge the Emperor as a god or something.
It's the quote is like, he goes, "It appears Lorgar was just a bit too early with his devotions. I'm not going to convert to your pathetic creed, for I cannot trust a man who lies. I trust a god who does so even less." And like, this isn't just when they tussed off either. Like, but even before the battle, as they're parlaying, they waste a whole bunch of time discussing philosophy.
Yeah,
and they're talking about who's right, the heretic or the loyalist, and it's like, you can't get more loyalist than these guys. And I thought that conversation was, a lot of these discussions are kind of the crown jewel of the book. Calcator's comment about like their freedom and their nobility. He says, the sons of our lowliest slaves might one day join our legion, and if they are imbued with our iron, they shall stand strong, knowing fully in their hearts they serve the most honest masters of all, themselves.
How great would it have been, like part way through this like philosophical discussion between these two, if there was just like a hard line break and the next line was whoa, like, they're just standing out there talking and the orcs show up
like, oh snap. But they do fight side by side very well. Like the line troops, they don't miss a beat. They're still Space Marines. They still have the same training. They still have the same equipment. Like they gel together very well. It's just like their leaders kind of trade barbs throughout the fight, which is kind of annoying. But Ralston is very glad to be killing Works finally, until the weird boy shows up, of course.
Yeah.
A weird boy who apparently deflects las cannon shots. and has a power that liquefies flesh and sunders buildings. And I'm like,
your experience may vary.
Your experience may vary a great deal, in fact, yes.
but at the same time, he also has a power that seems to reanimate dead orcs.
Yeah, he pulls the weird boy is pulling Wog energy from both the living and the dead orcs and using it to cast these spells or to manifest these powers. I thought that is awesome. You know, what's even more is awesome is none of them can hurt Magneric. Magneric takes point. He's like, only faith can deal with witches, and he takes point, and all the Black Templars, they leave the Iron Warriors to just give them cover fire, and they just run in, giant laser beams of death just washing over Magneric, doing nothing to him. Again, you know, +1 to your Deny the Witch may not look the same in the tabletop.
But yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that the image of a dreadnought and a whole bunch of space marines just marching towards the enemy, singing hymns to the Emperor as protection, that is pretty close to a Wog power in itself.
Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. And it's all like, you know, it's all warp based. It's all, and this really, I mean, this throws.
It's all warp based. There's a whole bunch of angry Black Templar players somewhere right now.
Oh, that's right. Well, I mean, you know, what can you do, right?
Gonna get some hate mail from that
one. Oh, and Calcator is just watching, like, right? Really? Hymns to the Emperor while you're fighting the orcs? Sure, guys, whatever. Keep firing bolters, I guess.
I just picture the look on that weird boy's face when his first like energy attack didn't work. I don't know if you see, it's a terrible movie, obviously, but Aliens versus Predator, the first one, where the queen comes out, just the look on the Predator's face was like, huh? Like, he's like exactly like that work, I think.
Oh, that's funny. So he starts pulling all the energy from the boys, and they start saying Gork, Mork, Gork, Mork, Gork, Mork, Gork, Morka, Gorka, Morka, Gorka, Morka, kind of like Hodor. It's like a Hodor moment. It's really good. And yeah, he gooshes that weird boy pretty good with his giant fist. So
yeah, that's some awesome like orc fanboy service though. Like that's one of the, you just reading that book like, yeah, go. Like you want the orcs to win at that point. Like, I know they're not going to, but come on.
They're not going to win. Yeah, and this was just they comment. This was just a scout fleet, and there were still thousands of orcs. So, all right. Well, I think we've covered most of the book. Any kind of parting thoughts? I think the faith angle is kind of the main, like, teachable moment for the book. Like how, like one of the thing we're trying to expose here is how that started to develop. Oh my God, you guys! I forgot about like the most important crazy thing, the crisis of faith of Mezzering. He said, he's like, yeah, Emperor protects. Why aren't you protecting me, your most faithful servant? You know who is really strong and awesome? Orcs. What? What is even going to come from that?
If you're not going to help me, I'm going to go to somebody that is also not going to help me, but just because screw you.
I was not expecting that turn. I am interested to see what happens in book 6.
I don't know. Him being such a self-serving High Lord, it's not way out of character, huh?
I'm not saying it was out of character. I'm saying I wasn't expecting it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just plain didn't expect that to be a plot point. So I think that will be interesting. But they did say, you know, throughout the Imperium, as the orcs attack, some worlds switched from worshiping the Emperor to worshiping kind of the orcs, like forming these orc cults.
Codex Diggers. Yeah,
that'd be great. But yeah, anything else, you guys? You want to talk about this book?
Well, for me personally, that I try to inject it when we're talking about Magneric and Calcator, the whole having a Chaos Marine tell a loyalist that, well, you're actually more of a heretic than I am. Mm-hmm. That really is hammering home the whole faith thing, that here's someone who should be the bad guy telling the loyalist that you're actually the bad guy here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not like, and the excuse is, oh, the Emperor lied. It was a necessary lie of the Emperor. And like it just doesn't. And then Mesring actually says the same thing to some. I think it was to Corlin and Thane. He says, "Well, it was a necessary lie of the Emperor." Like, and that harkens back to a lot of things, in our world, like dinosaur bones.
Yeah,
It's just for lulz, testing your faith. Like,
that conversation between Calcator and Magneric, like if you've been on the internet before, you've had that just a circular logic discussion. Like the Emperor said he wasn't divine, and then the answer was like, of course, if he was truly divine, he would say that he wasn't. Like, what? How does?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lot of fun. I love to watch this kind of thing develop, and this is exactly what this series is for. It's for showing how the Imperium as it is started to develop, and it's good fun to see it happen. And if you're having trouble with the series, try to look at it from that perspective. I know that there are quite a few people, like I said, out there who are starting to question, like, oh, is this good? Nah. Try to not look at it as the Horus Heresy. It's not meant to be the Horus Heresy. It's each one of these books is supposed to be a quick read and give you some insight into the Imperium and how it developed, and also have a few cool space battles at the same time. So.
Yeah, like I think I'm up to like 7 or 8 now at this point, and this was definitely the most disjointed one. Like we talked about at the beginning, the different storylines didn't come together really at all, but everything that's set up in this book, aside from the just like, hey, here's some Eldar, everything else that's set up in this book has a really good payoff over the course of the next few books. So if this is the last one you've read, don't stop. Get the next couple ones at least.
Yeah, I'll try to get, but I mean, I've been trying to find some reading time anyways. It's good for you, so I'll just move right on to 6, and maybe we'll do I did speak to Guy. He did say he would be interested in an interview. I haven't set up the interview yet, so we may have a different topic next week and then the interview for episode 73, but we'll see. And maybe we'll do book 6 a little bit sooner than we have been, just to get them going. And get this finished up by hopefully shortly into 2017, so we can kind of move on to other stories.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna give a few messages and come back and close out the show.
Hey everyone, this is Justin from the It Will Not Die podcast. If you love listening to podcasts that are positive and excited about the hobby, come check us out. We're on the Freebooters Network now, along with other great podcasts like The Independent Characters, 40K Radio, D6 Generation, Nerd Herders, and many more. And remember, it doesn't matter how you love the hobby, just do it.
Nailed it. Do you play more than one mini war game? Or do you like listening to shows which discuss other games and pan hobby topics? Combat Phase is a weekly podcast covering the whole hobby for gamers. We also interview a lot of Black Library authors. Join Kenny and Robert as they try to grow the hobby. Combat Phase, the best part of the game, is on iTunes and www.combatphase.com. Transmission incoming from the Adeptus Terra podcast. A new monthly UK-based 40K podcast has come into the universe, based around the hobby as a whole and the rich background of the 41st millennium. If you're looking for a fun, chilled-out podcast focusing on the fluff of the 41st millennium with tricks and tips on taking part in the hobby, then why not give us a listen? You can find us on iTunes and Facebook as the Adeptus Terra podcast. You never know, you might just like it. Message ends.
Thanks for listening to episode 71 of Masters of the Forge. On behalf of all of us here, I want to say thanks for being a listener. Thanks for being a friend. Down the road and back again. Your heart, I know, is true, and every one of you is a pal and a confidant. Now, if you get any, if there's any heartbreak involved in your life, you know what you can do. I forgot. Damn it.
I think the correct answer is just wait for Tybalt to show up.
Yeah. The biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, "Thank you for being a friend." Facebook, Twitter,
Our own blog.
mastersoftheforge.com, and some comments and ratings on iTunes would be greatly appreciated. Please check out the Du Bois GT coming up in November. Just do a search for Du Bois GT. And please check out the Golden Sprue Cup GT, which is coming up in January. I would love to see some of the listeners there. Come get your points. Have 6 awesome games with some awesome people. Anything else, fellas?
Crickets, chickens.
How's Hoppy doing?
Hoppy's doing okay. I gotta mow my backyard though.
Because she can't hop around if your lawn's too long.
It's tough to hop through too tall weeds when you only have one chicken leg.
Well, all hail Hoppy. So once again, looking forward to seeing everybody next week, hopefully with an interview with Guy Haley or some other fun topic. But until then,
Play the game.
Play the game the way you want to.
There we go.
excellent.
Sorry for stealing your thunder there.
Nailed it.
There we go. No thunder stolen.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.